So, Skyrim. Yeah, so Skyrim is a very interesting game. And, well, there's a lot of stuff to do in this game. There's also a lot of places to explore in this game. Some of them really are not the best to explore, though. In my times playing Skyrim, I've noticed a lot of creepy places in Skyrim, and I kind of want to talk about them. So, I've gathered up 5 locations in Skyrim that I deemed the most creepiest, and I'm going to be going through all of them and the reason why I find them so creepy. So do be warned, there are spoilers for the base game along with the Donga DLC. So do keep in mind, there are going to be spoilers. So let's get into the video, because at number 5, we of course have Darkfall Cave. So Darkfall Cave is a location introduced in the Donga DLC. We of course do go into this cave to get Oriel's bow. So basically TLDR is that there's this evil vampire guy named Lord Harkon, and he's trying to get Oriel's bow to of course fulfill the prophecy, the tyranny of the sun. And of course, to stop him or work with him, you of course have to get Oriel's bow, which is located in the Forgotten Vale. To get to the Forgotten Vale, we have to of course go through Darkfall Cave. Now, Darkfall Cave is on this list for 2 reasons. The first reason is that I actually got lost in this place one time, and it really creeped me out because I had no idea how to get out, and I thought I soft-locked myself. It's also creepy in another way because people died in this cave. Yeah, there were these 2 sisters that I guess tried making their home in the cave, and it didn't go so well. I think one of them died from trolls and tried wanting the other to escape. Not to mention, the further we go down in Darkfall Cave, the more creepier it gets, because we find skeletons. Not to mention, there's also Falmer, which, are corrupted snow elves. There's a lot of lore behind this. TLDR is that, the Falmer, they're evil, and they're creepy. I call them the Nosferatu. But yeah, so Darkfall Cave is definitely a really creepy place in Skyrim, and also one of the more sad places, because I'll get into that in a bit, but yeah, if you know about the Forgotten Vale, you know why I'm thinking that. Then of course, at number 4, we of course have Ranvig's Vast. Ranvig's Vast is definitely a really sad place, because, well, it's haunted by ghosts. There's a warlock, and he's trapping adventurers, and he's taking control of their ghosts, which is already kind of a little messed up. Not to mention, he's forcing these guys to fight. When you enter this place for the first time, or maybe even subsequent times, you'll be attacked by ghosts, and they'll basically just tell you they don't want to do this, and they're sorry, which really makes it really creepy, because, they're being forced to fight against their will, and they're forced to harm people they don't want to. I personally think that's kind of creepy, and it gets even worse because you then realize that there's more adventurers that have met a really bad fate because of this guy. It's generally one of the more morbid places in Skyrim, and really shows the creativity of Bethesda's storytelling when it comes to this game. And at number 3, we of course have Frostflow Lighthouse. So for older viewers of the channel, you already know what this one's going to be. Now, the TLDR is that there's this family that moves into this lighthouse, and it seems like it's gonna go great. The patriarch, he's retired, and the kids are all grown up. But that's when things go bump in the night. Unbeknownst to them, there is a coven of Falmer living beneath the house. And the Falmer, they start making noise, and it gets the family suspicious that there might be skeevers in a cellar or something. And one day, it just immediately hits the fan because, well, people died, and the patriarch, the dad, he kind of became dinner for Karis. And by the time that we come there, we of course immediately know something's wrong because, well, this guy's wife is dead. And no one's in the house, and there's two cars, which immediately just shows that, yeah, there's definitely something extremely wrong. And it gets even worse because we find out that there's a bunch of farmer in the cellar and in the chasm below, and a giant chorus. This makes it on this list because this was generally my first experience with the farmer and chorus, and it's generally one of the creepiest moments I've ever had in Skyrim, and it's still creepy years later. And again, it's one of the saddest side quests, to be honest. I reviewed this one all the way back in 2022, and it's honestly still sad thinking about that. The Sanderson family just lost their lives because of a freak accident. Generally, might just be one of the saddest dungeons in the game, to be honest. Next up, we of course have one of the more morbid dungeons, and I'm also going to be giving a viewer discretion for sexual assault. So, yeah. And that is, of course, Yingvild. Yingvild is a dungeon located in a pill. The TLDR is that there's this guy who is a peeping Tom and he got ran out of Dawnstar. He holds up in a cave and he starts messing around with the Draugr and killing women. You of course can find this cave on your own, but there's a quest associated with this one where you'll talk to Vekel the Man, who is a part of the Thieves Guild. He'll give you a quest to recover some journals from this guy, and that's kind of where you get to find out how much of a sick freak this guy is. It's generally one of the more disturbing dungeons because the dungeons before just, either had Falmer or something or an evil warlock. This one generally just has some dude just being extremely sick and perverted, and it really makes it one of the more unsettling places in Skyrim. And it especially sucks because, you can kill this guy and set these women's ghosts free. You don't really fully avenge them because you can't undo the damage that this guy did, which really leaves an unsettling feeling. And of course, my number one mention is of course Afland. So Afland I've covered a few years ago. The TLDR is that there's this expedition group that was trying to explore the ruins. They got snowed in, and that's when things go bump in the night again. Because, they start thinking that something is with them. There's a small group of them. There was a few Khajiit, a old Imperial soldier, his bodyguard, an orc, and a high elf. And a Bosmer. And things are not right in this place. One of the Khajiit is acting odd. Why is that? Well, why that is because he's addicted to skooma, which is a drug in Skyrim. His brother's trying to get him clean. And that's not the worst of their issues. Some of the worst of their issues is, of course, the fact that, they're snowed in. They're completely trapped in this place that they have no idea what is inside this place. The machines are coming alive, and there's things going off in the middle of the night. Something is in there with them, and it makes for a really unsettling place. And one day, they're all kidnapped. After people had disappeared days prior, they're now kidnapped and at the mercy of the farmer. And while they're able to escape, it doesn't really get them too far, because the Khajiit going through the addiction withdrawals kills his brother after hallucinating and really just losing his crap. The Bosmer, Endrast, ends up dying from an arrow, and the Orsimer I think Yag was the name, ends up sacrificing herself so he can escape. And the Dalmor just, she's dead. Like, she literally just got killed by the farmer. That only leaves two people alive. You know, the Imperial and his bodyguard, and they push on further into Affluent and kind of lose their sanity, only to come to blows against each other. All in all, Affluent is one of the saddest places in Skyrim because it's an expedition gone wrong. What could have led to them getting riches, and fame, led to them being torn apart, not only emotionally or physically, but as people. And it's definitely one of the saddest places in the game, and really just shows just how unforgiving Skyrim can be. But these were my top 5 favorite dungeons. And this was definitely a very fun video to do. Now, Skyrim is one of my favorite games. Like, it always will be a favorite game of mine. And I think the environmental storytelling for some places generally is really good. Especially with Affluent, because when you first enter there, you just really just are seeing the aftermath of this expedition. But what really works well with this is that there's journals you can find, and they'll fill you in more about what happened, And if you want a more detailed approach, I do have a video on that. It definitely should be in one of the Skyrim playlists, but in my opinion, Affluent still remains to be one of the creepiest places in the entirety of Skyrim, and one of the creepiest places in any games in general. But that's really all I have for today's video. This was a video I've been wanting to do for a while, and I finally got around to doing it. I do have more videos like this planned, and I do want to cover more gaming content for stuff I haven't reviewed, so definitely stay tuned for that. And again, thank you all for watching, and I will be back next time with another video. So thank you, and stay tuned for that.